The hero of Hyrule, Link, is a master of a large variety of martial weapons, but sometimes the situation simply calls for something a little bit classic. Using his one-handed sword and shield, Link's playstyle in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is extremely versatile, giving him a number of great attacks and setups that can make him a terror on the battlefield. Let's dive in and see what it can do. Link's regular attack string consists of 7 attacks. He will slash left, right, jump and slash right, land and slash again, move forward and slash to the left, to the right, and finish with one last jump attack. If you are using the Master Sword and at full health, each of these standard attacks will be accompanied by a beam attack in classic fashion. These beams, which also come along for Link's later attacks, allow the Master Sword to have a bit more damage in range for as long as you can actually keep at full health, which even for a skilled player is not always a consistent thing. It's actually pretty easy to take a stray bit of damage in this game, especially with the enemies that rely on surprise and the many different bosses that will be stomping around the battlefield. For this and other reasons that I'll be getting into later, the Master Sword is not necessarily the best option all the time, which is a change that I definitely appreciate, considering how much that weapon could take over the last Hyrule Warriors if you let it. Let's move on to Link's other basic moves. For his regular dash attack, Link will stop with a thrust attack. For his strong dash attack, Link will jump onto his shield and surf with it through his enemies. This running dash attack has one of the longest extended hitboxes of any of these moves, and can get a lot of damage into a group of enemies that are in just about any formation. For his regular aerial string, Link will do 3 large slashes while midair, and for his strong aerial attack, he will spin and do a plummeting attack back down to the ground. All in all, Link's regular moves are a very solid set, but for his Sheikah Slate runes, I have to note that they all work exactly the same for him, regardless of what weapon he's holding. This means that I will have the same things to say about them in the two-hand sword and spear guides. They are all very straightforward, so I'm going to try to be a little bit faster than normal here. Link's stasis has him time lock enemies directly in front of him for a short time, during which he's completely free to move and continue the attack. And of course, this is best used for freezing enemies while their weak point gauges are out. For his Cryonis, Link will create an ice block under him that sends him into the sky, from which he can either land, start riding the wind, or begin doing aerial attacks. For his Magnesis, Link will grab metal objects or weapons and hold them in front of himself. He can also move for a short time before this attack ends. If there's nothing for him to grab, this rune simply fails, but doesn't start his cooldown. Last up, his Remote Bomb rune will have him throw 4 remote bombs in a row, which you can aim while he's doing so. Unfortunately, if one of his early bombs stuns his enemy, he cannot dodge cancel out of the animation, and will have to wait for it to fully finish before moving again. Before finishing off this section, I just have to mention that One-Handed Sword Link is actually one of the few playstyles that is able to reflect back Guardian Beams, along with Riju and Urbosa. Just another useful thing to add on to this weapon kit. Having covered all of Link's basic moves, let's jump over to his strong attacks next. For his first strong attack, Link is able to charge a spin attack, one that obviously is going to do more spins and damage if you charge it all the way. One note here, boomerang weapons will have a slightly different version of this attack, which will cause Link to throw it out a short ways before catching it again. For all of his later strong attacks, Link has a mechanic where he's able to hold the heavy attack button after performing it, which will charge his sword for a new follow-up attack. I'll start out with the basic version of each strong attack before moving on to these extensions. For his second strong attack, Link will do a slash that takes him into the air, which can then allow him to immediately start doing his aerial attacks. Unlike the previous Hyrule Warriors, juggles like this are not nearly as important in this game, and many of the larger enemies are immune to being juggled anyways. This strong attack is best used when you're trying to hit an enemy's high weak point, such as targeting the shoulder of Taluses or getting more height when trying to use his unique action. If you do the extended version of this combo, then after charging his sword, Link will do a spin attack and a shoulder bash. For his third strong attack, Link does another elongated shield surf. And if you extend this combo, his follow-up attack will have him release a flurry of blows before finishing with one final slash. Like his strong dash attack, the first part of this combo is great for clearing out crowds, and also looking very cool. Link's fourth strong attack has him do a spin attack, and if you extend this, he will do an elongated spinning attack, one that ends with him in the air, from which you can then add in any of his normal aerial moves. For his fifth strong attack, Link will spin into the air, from which you can, of course, do the rest of his aerial stuff. However, the better part of this attack comes if you extend it, which will have him add in a very wide attack before thrusting his sword into the air, the latter of which has the property of forcing out your enemy's weak point gauges, which of course you will then want to use his stasis on to freeze and exploit. Last up, for his final strong attack, Link will do another series of spins and a rush, and if extended, he will add in a fast spin attack and a final huge vertical slash, which, like his previous extended strong attack, also forces out weak point gauges. You can use this attack in a similar manner as the previous one. Before finishing out this section, let's go ahead and tackle his unique action, which, although it does seem very simple, in reality it's one of the most powerful abilities in the game. When used, Link will simply fire off some arrows from his bow, which of course can be held and aimed before releasing. Besides being able to add this to both his ground and aerial moves, this action also has the ability to force out enemy natural weak points, by aiming for wherever they are weak. Additionally, just like in Breath of the Wild, time is slowed if Link is aiming this midair, something which also works if used just doing a normal backflip, which can be performed by holding guard and then dodging backwards. There seems to be an internal cooldown or logic that doesn't always allow Link to spam weak points with this time and time again, but very few other characters can make their foes as helpless as this extra ability allows for Link to do. With all of that covered, let's jump over to his weapons and weapon build recommendations next. These sections are going to be a little bit different when it comes to Link, due to him having so many weapons compared to every other character. For example, while other characters only have 3 options, in one-handed weapons alone, Link has over 25 different choices. I am going to put a chart on screen right now to show their hidden level 25 and 30 seals, but I have to make a note that he really has 6 different best weapons, and those are his Guardian Sword++, Mighty Lionel Sword, Savage Lionel Sword, Royal Broadsword, Royal Guard Sword, and then finally, of course, the Master Sword. When it comes to weapon seals, I'm going to be focusing on the Royal Broadsword and the Master Sword. Starting out with the Royal Broadsword, due to it already having 2 square-shaped seals, to get the best possible damage bonus, you may want to add 2 more attack speed seals, and then add in 2 of a different shape, like 2 star-shaped strong attack damage seals. This will give you a plus 20 damage bonus for having 4 of one shape and 2 of another. But you could also just give this up and take a plus 15 damage bonus instead, just so you can go with a full attack speed build, which is never a bad idea with any character. Unlike the Broadsword, the Master Sword has 2 hexagon seals by default, and by far the best option is to then put on 4 attack speed seals. Note that the Master Sword is a powerful weapon, but unlike the last Hyrule Warriors, it isn't always the best option. Instead, it's much better to purposely bring it along just for battles that have a lot of Guardians or Malice-infected enemies. But even if you don't bring it, Link's other top-tier weapons can be just as powerful as it. And there we have it, Link's one-handed style. Let's put it all together and see where it ends up. It is very easy to call Link's one-handed playstyle one of the best ones in the game, if only because it applies so wonderfully in almost any situation. By fully understanding what it can do, you can equip yourself with the knowledge to take on any of this game's many challenges at just about any level of play. So, what do you think of Link's one-handed playstyle? If there was anything major that I forgot, be sure to let me know, and I'll make a pinned comment on this video to include anything that I left out. As always, thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I hope to see you next time. Special thanks goes out to my top patrons DW7 Still Rules, Henry Gutierrez, Radiant Archiver, Ryan Poe, and True Tactician. as well as to all of my other patrons. Thank you all very much.